All right, well, hello everyone and happy Wednesday. It's digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. I say it every day wherever you're watching Before the Four this afternoon, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream. As always, thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your Wednesday afternoon here. Now let's begin in Coleman, where earlier today we learned that one is dead after a crash that involved several boats as part of a fishing tournament on Smith Lake. State troopers confirmed that 58-year-old Joey Broom of Altoona passed away when the boat he was in collided with another boat. Now, Major League Fishing says the crash also involved angler Flint Davis of Leesburg, Georgia. He was part of the Tackle Warehouse Invitational. We'll continue to keep you updated both on air and online as we learn more. And of course, 48's Noah Cowell will have the latest from Smith Lake coming up in our evening newscasts. But now heading out to Lauderdale County, where authorities have now released the names of the two dead in yesterday's apparent murder-suicide. The two have been identified as a father and son in the Underwood or Petersville community. Their names are 34-year-old Jesse Payne and 61-year-old Ralph Payne. Authorities say during a fight between the father and son, Jesse Payne pulled out a gun and shot his father once. The stepmother then ran out of the house to get help. That's when Jesse Payne followed her outside and over to a neighbor's house, where he shot her once. Deputies say when they arrived, they found Jesse and Ralph Payne dead. Fortunately, the stepmother has been treated and released from the hospital. And yesterday, 48's Aria Pond, she spoke with neighbors of the Paynes and has reaction. Take a listen.
Lauderdale County deputies are continuing to investigate what they're calling a murder-suicide that left two people dead and one injured.
Well, I just woke up at about 5:30 and I come out and I looked around and there was all these vehicles over here on Sylvan Street and I just had no idea what was going on. There was no flashing lights.
Deputies were called to Ingram Street in the Underwood-Petersville area around 3:30 in the morning for a report of a suspicious person call. When they got there, however, they found a woman who had been shot. She led investigators to a crime scene right down the road to a home on Sylvan Street.
And it was like, oh my God. Something like that happened in this neighborhood? Unbelievable.
Neighbor Tim Staples says normally the surrounding neighborhood is quiet, so he was shocked.
Real quiet neighborhood. Everybody gets along. People will help each other. You know, I've had people help me do my yard work. I've helped people do things around here. It's just a really good community.
Staples says this is the first time something like this has happened. Sheriff Joe Hamilton says investigators believe one of the men shot the other, then attacked the witness before taking his own life. They say the woman who witnessed the shooting ran away from the suspect and tried to get help when he shot her. Deputies believe the woman will survive her injuries. I will continue to keep you updated as the investigation continues. Reporting in Lauderdale County, Aria Ponds, 48 on your side.
And of course, Aria will have more on this very sad situation coming up in our evening newscast. But now the weather. If it could just stay like this year round, I wouldn't do too much complaining, let me tell you. But like I always say, if it did do so, we might not appreciate beautiful days like this as much. But let's turn over to Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis to see if it's here to stay. Brad?
Well, we got dry weather out there now. We continue to warm up. You're going to notice more humidity as we get close to that weekend. Tomorrow and Good Friday, probably the nicest days we're going to see in a while. Everyone wondering about that Easter forecast. Easter sunrise at 6:08 a.m., 81 degrees in the afternoon. During the morning, it's going to be in the mid to upper 60s, so it will be comfortable. Well, we're tracking storm chances late in the day. The better chance is going to be out west in the shoals. Right now, here just before 3:30 this Wednesday afternoon, very light winds, beautiful day out there, and we're talking 70 in Scottsboro. Pretty much what we forecast today, and we will see similar results tomorrow. The next 12 hours, temperatures are going to slowly fall tonight, a little slower than last night. You may need a jacket after, say, 9 o'clock tonight. 3-day forecast, 77 tomorrow, 82 Friday, 83 Saturday. a little unsettled next week, but it's not going to rain every day. We'll talk about that 10-day forecast at 4, 5, 6, and 10.
You all know the drill. A weather extra tonight at 9:30. 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis will be back here in the CTV Center, and he'll be giving you the latest. But now to a story in case you missed it. We got to talk about the ongoing dispute between the Alabama Beavers and the International Football Alliance. The IFA alleges fraud in that the team did not pay the required fees to join the league. But the Beavers, they say just the opposite, and that they had already left the league before getting kicked out. 48's Nick Ballinger with the story.
Kicked out before kickoff. The Alabama Beavers are a semi-professional football team that was set to start its first season next month under the International Football Alliance. IFA Director of Operations Jason Adams says Monday's decision to remove the Huntsville-based team falls on its general manager.
Didn't pay a penny to his league fees, okay? Didn't pay a penny.
In a detailed memo sent to the team on the 14th, Adams alleges Beavers GM C.J. Drinkard committed fraud and violated league policies. Drinkard says the memo isn't true and the Beavers weren't kicked out. They left.
We left on the 10th. We have email receipts on that, and then he retaliated on the 14th.
The fraud and league violations boil down to this. Adams says Drinkard accepted a check from an investor to use toward league fees.
You're saying now that you took that $25,000 from Mr. Richardson and you gave it to IFA.
1,000%.
And Adams says Drinkard cashed that check and never paid the league.
IFA didn't receive anything. Like he made it out to CJ. CJ cashed it and kind of disappeared on him.
He says Drinkard racked up over $70,000 in unpaid hotel bills for mini camps hosted in Huntsville, even saying he had players pay some and promised them a check later.
Who was supposed to pay the hotel bill?
The IFA.
I would pay it? Why would I pay it? It's his own mini camp. Why, I didn't accept any players' money.
The Beavers are named in a federal lawsuit against the IFA from the Baltimore Lightning, a team that already left the league. It says 6 teams paid a combined $150,000 to the IFA and haven't received anything in return. Despite thousands of dollars left on the table, with fans ready for action and players waiting for a check, Drinkard says Huntsville will have a football team this season.
Well, yesterday in Huntsville, family and friends of a man who sadly lost his life after getting hit by a car held a balloon release to remember his life and legacy. A somber moment for that family. 48's Callie Neese was at that balloon release yesterday and has more.
It hurts. It hurts every day, you know what I'm saying?
Terrence Adkins, a friend of Marquez Williams, told me it's disheartening to know that his friend's killer is still on the loose. Williams was hit by a driver as he was walking along Memorial Parkway near Maston Lake Road. Adkins says he's disappointed with how Huntsville police handled this investigation and is asking them to step up.
I need for Detective Broom to step up. I need for the Huntsville Police Department to step up. I need for anyone that has information to step up.
HPD officials say they are still looking for that driver and are still looking back at the evidence. They're asking anyone who knows anything about the incident to call Investigator Broom. Adkins told me it hurts every day to know Williams was just taking a walk when he lost his life.
And to think that he was just walking in Huntsville and someone ran him over and they didn't even take the time to stop and call the police or call 911, and that could have potentially saved his life, you know.
Just this week, law enforcement agencies across North Alabama have investigated 3 deadly wrecks involving pedestrians. Senior Trooper Brandon Bailey from the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency says with the growing population in this area, more and more people are walking on the streets, and drivers have to stay extra vigilant.
The most important thing is stay alert. Be a defensive driver, and that just don't mean to other vehicles, but to pedestrians as well. Like, you just never know when you're gonna see one. It might be a dark area, so you should always expect the unexpected when.
Well, now coming up after the break, we'll talk about a new task force in Alabama that's looking into non-compliant high school sports transfers, previewing the postseason of the defending state baseball champions, and a story you're just not going to want to miss on some creative ways vets are coping with PTSD. It's all ahead. I'll be right back in 1 minute. All right, well, hello everyone and welcome back to Before the Four. Now, let's talk about high school sports transfers. First-year AHSAA Executive Director Heath Harmon says he's establishing a task force to look into high school athletes who are not following the proper transfer guidelines within the state of Alabama. WBRC's Jonathan Hoppy reports.
Heath Harmon says it's time to get more information regarding non-compliant high school transfers in Alabama.
So let's look at that and look at some specifics about it. And when you do that, you can start looking at your rules, you can start looking at your systems in place, looking at how schools are handling moves and how they're addressing that at the school level.
The Alabama High School Athletic Association announced this move in a release last week. The release also said Mountain Brook football coach Chris Yeager was among a group of coaches that presented transfer data to the Central Board. Yeager says the data caught their attention.
To be honest with you, the Central Board, their response, they were very, very surprised. And surprised is putting it mildly. Shocked might be a better word.
Yeager said his presentation was regarding the rise in transfers as a whole and not just the issue of non-compliant transfers. Yeager says it's not an attack on specific programs, but it's about keeping the game safe and fair.
If the outcome of these games are being decided on my ability to attract talent to my school, for whatever reason, whether it's my program, whether it's me as a personality, whatever it is, and it's not decided, on the field by the skill of the players, the determination of the players, the perseverance of the players, the discipline of the players, and what coaches are imparting to them, to me, that takes the joy and the fulfillment out of the game.
And now staying in sports, last season the Bob Jones Patriots baseball team held up the blue map in the Class 7A for the very first time ever in program history. But this year, those expectations remain the same. 48 Sports Director Carl Prather previews Patriot baseball heading into the postseason.
New year, same expectations. The Bob Jones Patriots baseball team won their first Class 7A state championship last season. This year's expectation, another state crown.
It's been past time to move on, and I think this group's did a great job of doing that and moving on to and kind of setting their own standard and how they play the game and how we're going to win games with this group, because it's a totally different group, and they've done a great job.
The Patriots have 14 seniors on the current roster. Players understand what it takes to navigate a long, tough season.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It helps because we've all been there. We've all seen it. We know what to expect and what we need to do to win. So it's really helpful.
Bob Jones has 29 wins on the season and a #1 area seed on the line Thursday against crosstown rival James Clemens. Expect an amazing crowd as high school baseball continues to grow in the Valley.
We won 29 games, pushing 30 already. So I think they did a good job handling the expectations. I think sometimes that we may get caught up in trying to, meet the same standards last year every game or every practice. And, the standard's the same, but, we may not win as many games. We may win it more, but the end goal is still the same. And we're in the same spot we were last year at this time, playing for an area championship, and whoever gets hot at the right time, it will be the state champion.
Well, best of luck to them. And now to Madison Academy, a cool event going on this weekend that's remembering and honoring William Tex Bailey, a Madison Academy 2019 graduate who sadly lost his life in November while training to become a game warden. The 8th annual Mustang Mud Run is happening, and it's exactly what you think, and then some. A 5K through the mud along with plenty of obstacle courses to bring the whole squad out to. The Mud Run in Madison also serves as a fundraiser for the school's theater department. On Monday, I spoke with Terry Spear. She's the director of this year's Mud Run. Take a listen. Up on it, I was like, wow, all these different obstacle courses that would be there. It is the perfect team bonding or team building opportunity. And yeah, it just makes sense. JROTCs, fraternities,
Yes.
different sports organizations.
Yeah, so we are a full 5K. We have 23 plus obstacles. We do cross Indian Creek 4 times. Sometimes you wade through it, sometimes you have to cross an obstacle, sometimes you leap across it on our pontoons. We have a tire bridge that crosses it that you have to crawl across on all fours, about 6 feet up in the air from the water.
Wow.
It is so much fun, and everybody has such a great time doing it.
Wow, I'm going to have to start training for next year. I don't know if I'm physically fit enough to do it
Well,
this
but that's
year.
the great thing about it, AJ, is that not everybody is, but it's about getting out there and challenging yourself, enjoying the outdoors, and just being with your people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's fun,
Yeah.
and you get to get a little bit muddy, you get to get dirty. in
You
the
do.
mud
Some
there,
years you're
so-
muddier than others.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, we've had it where we've been like so muddy that you can't hardly stand up and walk. When you're getting out there and traversing across things, when we've had like 1.5 inches or so, Indian Creek will flood and makes, God kind of helps us out a little bit. But otherwise, for the most part, it's really just about enjoying yourselves in the teamwork. Some of our obstacles are just to challenge yourself, and if you can't do them, that's okay too. But some of them are meant to be done with a partner. So even if you didn't bring a partner with you, somebody's going to be standing there at that obstacle is going to be like, yeah, hey, I'll help you out with that one. We're cheering each other on, and we're really there for each other.
That's awesome. Yes, truly an awesome event coming up. And you can watch that full 48 Now interview and find more details right now on our website. Just go to WAFF.com. But had an awesome time speaking with Miss Spear there. But now turning to a major new report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, finding a dramatic rise in autism over the past 2 decades. 1 in 31 children in the United States are now diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder by their 8th birthday. NBC's Ann Thompson with more.
For Eileen Lamb, a Texas mom who has 2 sons with autism, the CDC report is significant.
It's not just a statistic to us, it's more like a call to action.
The report says 1 in 31 8-year-olds were identified with autism spectrum disorder in 2022, up from 1 in 36 in 2020. Boys were more than 3 times as likely to be identified with autism as girls, and it was more prevalent in minority children than whites.
We're in a crisis today.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says autism is a rampant epidemic.
This whole generation of kids is damaged by chronic disease.
I don't think we have an epidemic of autism.
Dr. Alex Colvison is the clinical director of New York's Seaver Autism Center.
I think that there are a number of factors that are driving the increase in prevalence.
Such as?
Such as broadening diagnostic criteria, perhaps younger age of diagnosis, and getting the diagnosis is a means of getting services, which are important for kids.
He says genetics play a role, not vaccines.
Is there any connection between autism and the measles vaccine?
So there's a lot of things that we do not understand as of yet about autism, but one thing we know with certainty is that vaccines do not cause autism. This has been studied extensively across multiple continents, and it's been well established in the scientific community.
Like her 2 sons, Eileen Lamb is also on the spectrum. She wants more support and more information.
We know that autism has a genetic component, but we need to do more research to understand it better.
Well, and now today on the good side, many veterans struggle with PTSD and find it difficult to reintegrate back into daily life. One man is giving them a place to restore cars while restoring their purpose. Local News Live's Scott Passmore takes us to Arizona and the Guardian Garage. Take a look.
Welcome to Guardian Garage, where all this sanding and welding is not only restoring old cars and trucks, but more importantly, people.
These guys are busier than heck in here, and they're working on different projects. And then there's days they just come in here and talk. And everybody's got war stories they want to share. We all get the same sense of humor. It's a little different than the normal person's. Because, making fun of situations is part of your coping mechanism.
After retiring from law enforcement, Craig Lewis opened this garage a few years ago, knowing veterans and first responders, both active and retired, could use a place like this to unwind, share stories, maybe get away from pain, and belong again.
And it's just a way for them to be able to come in and get out of their own headspace for a while. They can work through whatever they need to work through. We're not a therapy program per se, we're just kind of a therapeutic program. We give them creative things to work with, their hands and their mind, but we also instill that teamwork and that camaraderie back. Once you've left service or you've retired, you kind of lose that.
Why are you here?
This gives me a purpose. I'm medically retired, so this gives me something to do because I was just sitting at home basically wasting away.
Michael Schwartz, who served in the Army and the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, says this place has become family. So he loves spending time here, restoring this years-old sled he found at a family member's home in New York.
When you leave the military, you leave law enforcement, you lose your team. You have a team, you have a purpose, you have a mission. And I didn't have that until I came here. Now I have a team, I have a purpose, and I have a mission. These guys are like family to me.
Here, it's a bathroom knob.
That's funny.
Which
yeah.
I remanufactured into the shift knob.
Chad McBride was with the Sheriff's Office for 30 years. Now he's restoring his dad's 36 Chevy truck, and it's back on the road for the first time since 1990. And his 83-year-old dad even gets to drive it again on weekends.
Everybody here has either been there, done that, seen it, or been around it enough to realize that, hey, we've all got baggage. Whether we admit it or not, everybody in life is going to have baggage, and whether, it's just a good place for like-minded people to come and do real work and actually do some stuff and have fun.
Their motto is restoring people and cars. So whether it's making an old truck new again or shining up this 50s theater popcorn machine, Guardian Garage is also restoring purpose where it matters the most.
We're all mission-oriented folks here, and giving that mission back so that we've got something to focus on, and even for me, it helps.
Man, that is what the good side is all about. I swear I always get a little bit misty-eyed every time I play out those videos, 100%, but awesome story there. Now let's head into the stories that you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. How some lawmakers in Colorado are reacting to the potential of Space Command headquarters being moved to the Rocket City. Hear what they're saying coming up. The latest on the search for a new police chief in Decatur. 48's Callie Neese will have more coming up. And finally, the murder trial of Rock Hawk, the Fayetteville man on trial for murder of a minor. 48's Faith Delp is back there today, and we'll have all those details for this trial that is expected to wrap soon. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. And we have just a little bit of time for it. It is, of course, time for Facebook fun. And I saw on today's Before the Four on our Facebook, Ms. Roberta Smart said, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Roberta. I hope all is well. Thank you so much for commenting. And let's see our 48 Facebook question of the day. What is something you would buy regularly if the price wasn't an issue? I would be buying quite a bit if the price was not an issue, that is for sure. But let's see what you all had to say. A massage. Stacy says a massage. A vacation. Jennifer, feel you on that. I would vacation anywhere. I'd go to Fiji. I'd go to the Bahamas 1 week. I'd go to Hawaii. Dustin said golf clubs. Those are very pricey. I've never been a big golfer, but I do know they are thousands of dollars sometimes, those drivers. Eggs, Misty, 100%, especially heading into Easter weekend. They are about as valuable as gold nowadays. Barbara, steak, lobster, seafood at all restaurants. Yes, we're eating good when money is not an issue, 100%. Keith, steak, also eating good. Ribeyes, T-bone, porterhouse. We're getting it all. Give me the whole menu, 100%. Wanda, she said tickets to Disney World. That would be awesome. Well, That is just about it for today's Before the Four. Thank you all for commenting on today's 48 Facebook question of the day. And of course, you all have a great night. Enjoy tonight's evening newscast. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.